Some familiar faces, some new faces that I haven't met before. Thank you for having me here. I should also note that this is a presentation that was put together in literally the last 2 hours of sitting here. Tapan Mishra Prabhu invited me at the last minute because we are... Anyway, so here it is. Edification for a mission. When I looked up edification in a dictionary, it seemed to have come from a religious context in the Bible to train, to grow, to build somebody's knowledge and character and spiritual life based on education, based on learning, based on knowledge. So, how to put that in context with our young people in the movement? In speaking with Tapan Mishra, we decided to focus on this theme of capturing the vibrant, youthful energy of our next generation youth. The vision of the youth ministry is to have youth inspired in Krishna consciousness, eager to carry on the missionary work of ISKCON. Our mission is to train, engage, inspire, and empower youth in Krishna consciousness to their fullest potential, to instill in them a desire to carry on this ISKCON movement and to be our future hope, to help our youth become peacefully situated in their vocation, varna, and stages of life, ashram. Why are youth programs important? To keep ISKCON's wheels moving. Please also take care of our children. They are our future hopes. The adolescent age is the most dangerous. It's the turning point of one's life. In this age, if you take care of the children, surely they will come out first-class Krishna-conscious devotees, Srila Prabhupada said. I have a short video that I wanted to show you that was produced for the last ILS in 2018 in conjunction with the youth ministry in Panavasena. We're going to see if it works, if you can hold the microphone to the computer speaker. If not, we'll move on quickly.
There is an audio jack.
Oh, you have an audio jack. All right. There we go. You might have to turn the volume up on the computer, but I think it might work. There's no way to turn these lights off, I suppose.
I remember when I was young, I always felt like after the first generation, after Srila Prabhupada's disciples leave their body, like I wonder who's going to keep it going.
If we are really planning the next 50 years of our society, we must create space for our youth.
They are the flowers of the nation, and they're going to shape the world.
If we want to guarantee the future vibrancy of the Krishna consciousness movement, then we need to have strong youth groups in all of our temples.
When you merge that innovation and that vibrancy and personality with a solid foundation, with solid principles, then you create something special.
The secret of success or the secret of change is not in fighting mode. But the secret of success and change is building on the new.
For the youth, it means chasing the vibrant.
Youth have this natural, effervescent energy where they just want to take over the world.
When there's a youth group specifically for them, it's like, okay, this is our temple, we belong here, we feel some responsibility toward the temple.
When the youth come together in the form of groups, small or big, they inspire each other, they give impetus in the process of Krishna consciousness, and they share ideas on how things can be done.
When you look at youth in action, it always gives you a sense of hope that with all their vitality and all their energy and talents, something good will manifest or flower out of their actions.
Youth revolutions are not about mechanical miracles. It's all about the heart. You have to feel the pulse. You have to know what are the things we need to do to achieve even greater success.
It's really important to have a youth group at your temple, to unite all the youth and to do service together and to build relationships.
It really takes trust. It really takes a loving relationship for service to be performed and for it to be passed on also.
Srila Prabhupada took youth from the West, train them up in Krishna consciousness, inspire them, and then all over the world, within 11 years, more than 100 temples were established.
Srila Prabhupada also, he went to the youth of America. He attracted the hippies who were in their youth. They were all under 25 years old, and that's what created our international society.
Srila Prabhupada practically started this movement with young people. He gave huge leadership responsibilities to 19, 20, 21-year-olds. He sent them all over the world. He empowered them. He had that faith in them. And through their youthful energy and ingenuity, they were able to establish Krishna consciousness in the most far outreaching and most difficult places.
The newspaper reporters, they asked me why these young men and young women get very much attracted in this movement. I replied that is the success of the movement. Because younger generations, they are the flowers, the future hope of the country, of the world.
So, yeah, thank you to the Pandavasena for putting together that video for us. Rodney Stark, who is a professor who studies religious movements' success and failures, made this statement: religious movements will succeed to the degree that they socialize the young sufficiently well to minimize both defection, that means leaving the movement, and an appeal of reduced strictness, which is a fear that many older devotees have, that, you know, the next generation won't be as strict and will water down everything. But religious movements have to retain their young people, otherwise you look like, you know, we're not taken seriously in the world if all of our own children are leaving. Generally, there's 3 different types of young people that we deal with in our movement. You may recognize some of them. Congregational youth, such as Pandavasena and others. College youth, ISKCON Youth Forum, very popular here in India. And then we have these Gurukul graduates from our own schools. And they all have the same need for vibrant, relevant youth programs. I went on a japa walk this morning with one of our Indian youth leaders, and he told me their glorious achievements. He said, we organize programs at our temple for 5,000 youth at a time. We bring in the top motivational speakers of India. And he shows the Bhagavad Gita and he motivates them and he says, you need to, you know, read this book to become successful. At the end of the youth programs, we take 300 names of the people who are most interested. We take them on yatras. And of those people, usually there's about 20 who are really serious, and we cultivate them, only the men, only the males, and they move into our ashrams. What's the problem with this kind of approach? Is there a problem? It's a great success, right? What about the other 4,980 young people whose potential you completely missed? Regarding no money to start universities, a discussion earlier. We may just not be properly utilizing the resources Krishna is sending us, the amazing potential among the young people that we cast aside each month, each year, who are not brahmachari material. Imagine if we could engage all of those 5,000. Maybe 20 of them are brahmachari preacher material. 80 teachers and preachers, including the ladies. 300 leaders and administrators. 600 business managers. Do we need business managers to create devotee business and enterprise in our movement? 4,000 workers, artists, service providers. Potential. Look at the Sikh organization, H3O in North America. They're about as old as us, younger actually. Started in 1969. Yogi Bhajan. Their members early on developed businesses to sustain their movement, including Golden Temple Bakery, Golden Temple Brand, Anybody heard of Yogi tea? Anybody heard of kettle chips? Became the #1 potato chip company in the United States and was sold in 2006 for $280 million to a nationwide food brand. The Mormons, 180 years old, so they're a little ahead of us. Keeping the money in the family is one of their values. JetBlue Airlines, Marriott International hotel chains, WordPerfect databases, and Black & Decker tools, Franklin Covey Company, SkyWest Airlines. So, integrating our youth, our future hope, creating a vision that's a community model that doesn't just engage a small fraction of our youth, but tries to encompass everyone that comes to us that Krishna sends us. Requires a broad-minded vision and mission, youth integration culture, principles and values in our movement. Practically training, engaging, inspiring our youth in a variety of services to match their natures, talents, abilities. Imagine if Srila Prabhupada in the early days would have been picky with who Krishna and who Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati sent him at 26 2nd Avenue and only picked out those who were, sannyasi material. He looked at everyone and tried to somehow engage them in Krishna service, right? Learning from other successful youth programs, empowering youth to take up real responsibility in our movement, give them a challenge, give them a mission. Again, what did Srila Prabhupada do with those 19, 20, 21-year-olds to encourage them, right, to really dedicate themselves to the mission? He gave them huge responsibilities. Go anywhere in the world on a crazy adventure, an open temple, spread Krishna consciousness in a country where nobody's gone before, The challenges. That was the end of the slides I have, but I have some notes on my notepad here. The goal, obviously, is to bring our youth to the realization, to the Vigyan, that Krishna consciousness or transcendental knowledge, that this Divya Gyan that we have, is the greatest gift to humanity in its darkest hour of need, and is worthy of being shared with others. One of the realizations that I have growing up in the Hare Krishna movement is that for me, until a certain age, it was the hardest thing to go out on book distribution. I could not stand on the street and stop somebody and interrupt them and try to sell them a book because I didn't have the conviction in my heart that this was the best thing that could happen to that person at that moment, not just in this life, but in the course of many lives, right? So if you can bring our young people to this point of understanding and realizing that, first of all, they want to become a devotee of Krishna, they want to join the Hare Krishna movement, and then somehow inspire them through our educational courses and training that there's some real value in these books and they can change people's lives. For our young people to study them and to distribute them to others. I mean, that's just one aspect. Again, we're not talking back about engaging only the brahmacharis, the kids who are brahminically inclined. But we need to create a global, a much broader vision, a community vision, like a city vision, at least, like we have here in Mayapur, where we can try to engage all of our young people, not just the ones who are, male brahmacharis. I know I'm repeating myself. I guess we can open it up for questions. And Tapamishra, you have maybe some guiding questions to lead.
Any questions from the audience? Yes, there's one at the back. While the mic is going there, Prabhu, I did want to ask you, which is that while you're encouraging the youth to engage in the mission, give their life to the mission, what is the mission going to do in return? What is ISKCON going to offer? I mean, these statistics that we know or we heard in the ILS, in the plenary was of the 5,000 odd disciples of Srila Prabhupada, only 2% are now initiating, maybe another 5% or 10% are active. So are you encouraging that the history repeats itself? We get 5,000, you get all those 5,000. What will really happen to their lives? They'll be Krishna conscious, but what about everything else that they have to do if they're not brahmacharis or sannyasis?
Right, and right now we don't really have a vision in ISKCON proper. When you talk to your local temple presidents or to the people who are doing your outreach and your preaching, there's a short-term goal-oriented vision. We need more brahmacharis, we need more book distributors, we need whatever, and you fill the list with maybe 5 different things that you need, and you go out there and you find those people. When you look at youth growing up in our movement, that kind of approach doesn't work so well. First of all, for example, they come out of the Gurukul and they don't really have the skills to succeed in the outside world. They've been raised for 20 years to be, in their minds, the next generation of leaders, managers, preachers in ISKCON. And if we have no vision to connect them, we sometimes talk about cradle to grave vision for education in ISKCON. But if the vision isn't there, you have the kids coming out of Gurukul, and then there's no continuity, nowhere for them to plug in. And they look around, and we mentioned this at the ILS presentation, they look around at their parents' generation and at the other older devotees, and they see that they're really struggling financially with health care, and then when they retire there's nobody there to take care of them after they give their life in service to the mission. That's not a very encouraging model for young people to dedicate themselves to spreading the Krishna consciousness with their talents and abilities. So we need to shift that paradigm and create a different kind of model, and that happens through training and education. We're looking at a room full of educators in ISKCON, and if we create a broader vision amongst ourselves and realize the importance of this cradle-to-grave approach, we have to look at all of the needs of our devotees, not just the shastric needs, not just GBC college-specific training. Somebody approached me right after my presentation and said they're working on Daivi Varnashrama courses to try to somehow engage the talents of all the devotees, on different levels. And until we have that in our movement, we're losing so many resources. They're not staying because they don't see a way for them to plug in, including our own youth. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that if they go outside and they get training, in the outside world and they get some expertise, then later on in life they can't come back and use that in Krishna's service here in our movement. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we could create these models where they could plug in? If we had a slightly broader vision, this community vision, to create vibrant devotee businesses that can engage our devotees at all levels, across all sectors of society, Okay, initially Prabhupada started out wanting to create a generation of Brahmins to be the preachers, to survive him and carry on the movement. But on a long-term basis, how can you build a house in which the whole world can live if all you're catering, everything is catered towards Brahmins, and specifically Brahmins who can live in a temple ashram, brahmacharis, brahmacharinis? And what happens when they get married and when they have kids and when they have teenagers that grow up in the movement? You see, there's a cycle. And then they come to me and say, Manorama, tell me some tips and tricks to inspire my teenager because they're not listening to me. So we have to really think on a broader level, I was telling you, Prabhu, in the outside world, the educational institutions and the governments work hand in hand. The government looks 20 years into the future, 25 years into the future. What do we need in 25 years in India, right, in our economy? And then they start influencing the school system, and they push certain programs and certain courses, right? So if we develop as educators a vision for ISKCON that's wholesome, across all varnas, let's put it that way, education across all varnas, for all ages. And then we work towards that, then we can start to fill in the gaps and connect the dots and help people in the movement, provide them guidance because they're not seeing it. There's that vision doesn't exist at the moment.
Thank you, Prabhu. There was a question at the back, yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. The basic of attracting the youth toward Krishna consciousness, I have found out the youth gets attracted when they see the all the devotees dancing jubilantly in Sankirtan. Even myself got attracted when I came to Krishna consciousness in Chopari temple around 24 years back. So the youth are less interested in philosophy, but they get attracted when the speaker tells them that when they sing the holy name and everybody dances so jubilantly. And that is the first step to attract the youth towards Krishna consciousness. So whenever we have some program or some festival, so the youth is waiting to dance after the lecture is going. So other than dance, the other thing is we have to speak in a basic foundation of Krishna consciousness so that people get attracted toward Krishna philosophy of Prabhupada. Like example of a Gaur Gopal Prabhu. He is attracting so much of youth of all over the world, and he speaks a perfect philosophy, and which is completely aligned with the minds of youth. And sometimes we speak very high philosophy with preaching.
Some questions. If you have a question.
Yes, so we need to adapt our preaching to young people to be relevant, relatable to them, that attracts them. But how to attract them and keep them, right, in Krishna consciousness? Because it's one thing to attract them, and then when they look at us more closely, they say, this lifestyle is not relevant for me. I can't live at a temple and raise a family. I can't live at a temple and pursue my degree, etc. So how to keep them involved and engaged in Krishna consciousness? One idea that we had was this 1-year gap year program. Give a year of your life to the mission early on in your life and really develop a taste, for what it means to be part of a missionary movement. And then go on with your career and continue to contribute to that mission of ISKCON.
There's one question
here. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation. I just like to point out something related to youth. I think we just need to identify all the devotees who are excelling in their fields of work, and we just need to bring them to maybe a common platform, and then all our youth can just take mentoring from them, because that is the only way we can help each youth to find out what he likes, and this is the only way, I think. And then we have a lot of devotees who are venture capitalists. I know some of them. They can then go to the next level. That mentor who is helping that particular devotee who's, eager on, he can refer them to the venture capitalist. Okay, he has really a good idea, and maybe.
Yes, definitely. Some good ideas. Thank you for sharing.
Yes. Wow. This is the last question. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Is there some research about why the youths are not anymore attracted to our Krishna consciousness movement? Even what you mentioned, that even Gurukul children, they can't survive outside and within ISKCON. And do you have some comparison with other religious groups, how their children are doing? Because we may try to find mistake in ourselves in ISKCON, but isn't it also the atmosphere in the world, what is happening? People are becoming less religious.
I'm not sure if there's...
It's a difficult question to answer, right? The simple answer is we can compare within our own movement in the past 40 years, our success rate, and it's going up because we have less, we're getting better in our gurukulas, we're getting better at showing love and care towards our children and our teenagers. And those children, and I can see, because when we do youth programs outside of India, in many parts of the world, the kind of young people that are coming on the youth programs now are so much more attracted to want to get involved in ISKCON and stay in ISKCON than they were maybe even 20 years ago, when their upbringing was much more, it was very different. There was a lot of force in trying to force them to become Krishna conscious, which didn't work back then. The other thing I want to say is you look at other religions, such as the Mormons, we call them new religious movements, and you look at their retention rates, and because they focus so much on family, and keeping the family unit together and helping them become productive in the business world, etc. It's a wholesome picture, right? It's not just their spiritual life, it's their whole life that's being taken care of by the church. The retention rate is very high. They have very few people who want to leave because they have a very good life. If I'm a Mormon teenager and I go on my mission trip and I come back with a badge saying, I did my mission, I served my mission for the Mormon church, right? Preferential treatment, preferential placement at their universities, you get the best quality education, and then preferential placement at hundreds of Mormon businesses. Choose the business, choose the career that you want, and you get preferential placement because you did your 2-year mission trip as a Mormon teenager. So we're not there yet, right? We have this very narrow-minded focus. If you don't fit into that focus, please go away because we can't engage you. So it's no surprise that our children are looking at that and going, well, there's no place for me, I don't fit in. See you later, Mom and Dad,